Magandang araw mga ka-aerial defense, may ibabahagi na naman ako sa inyo dahil ngayong araw na ito ay may bagay tayong pag-uusapan, Visiting Forces Agreement sa pagitan ng Japan at Pilipinas. Pinag-uusapan na, 5 pasilidad sa mga military base ng Pilipinas binabalak ng US, pero bago tayo magpatuloy wag mo muna kalimutan mag-like, share, and subscribe, paki-follow at like muna ng aming page na nasa description na ang link. Nagpahayag ng interes ang United States na magtayo ng 5 pang pasilidad sa bansa sa ilalim ng Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement o EDCA, ayon kay Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Bartolome Vicente Bacaro nitong Lunes. Yes, may bagong proposal na EDCA projects, he said during a media interview. Sinabi ni Bacaro na kabilang dito ang 2 posibleng site sa Cagayan, isa sa Palawan, isa sa Zambales, at isa sa Isabela. Wala pang kasiguraduhan yan, it will still be subject to vetting, Bacaro said. Sinabi rin ng hepe ng AFP na ang mga panukalang ito ay napapailalim pa rin sa pag-aproba ng Department of National Defense DND at ng Department of Foreign Affairs DFA, na finalize pagkatapos ng 8 round ng pag-uusap noong August 2013. Ang EDCA na nilagdaan noong 2014 ay nagpapahintulot sa mga tropang US na ma-access ang mga itinalagang pasilidad ng militar ng Pilipinas, ang karapatang magtayo ng mga pasilidad, at mga kagamitan sa preposisyon, sasakyang panghimpapawid, at mga sasakyang dagat, ngunit pinipigilan ang permanenteng pagbabase. Sa ilalim ng EDCA, ang gobyerno ng Pilipinas ay nakikipagtulungan sa Estados Unidos para itayo ang mga pasilidad sa hinaharap sa Cesar Basa Air Base sa Florida Blanca, Pampanga, Fort Magsaysay Military Reservation sa Nueva Ecija, Lumbia Airfield sa Cagayan de Oro, Antonio Bautista Air Base sa Puerto Princesa, Palawan, at Benito Ebuan Air Base sa Cebu. Samantala, sinabi ni DND Officer in Charge Undersecretary Jose Faustino Jr., na ang mga EDCA sites na ito ay training facilities at warehouses lamang. Mayroon na tayong 5 na pagkasunduang lokasyon ng EDCA at may mga kasalukuyang proyekto ngayon at sa susunod na 2 taon. Ang konsentrasyon ay nasa pagkumpleto ng mga proyekto sa loob ng EDCA sa panahon ng MDB-SEB, Mutual Defense Board Security Engagement Board, na ginanap sa Hawaii. Mayroong ilang karagdagang mga site ng EDCA na isinasaalang-alang. Dagdag niya, sinabi ni Faustino na kailangan pang dumaan sa proseso na kinabibilangan ng mga probisyon ng konstitusyon. Of course, we have to consider some constitution provisions, some of our national laws before we could go into that, so right now we will just forward it to the DFA for their comments regarding the additional EDCA sites, idinagdag niya. Samantala mga tangke ng Philippine Army paparating na sa mga susunod na linggo. Ito ay kinumpirma mismo ng Israel matapos magpahayag ng salaysay noong nakaraan. Panoorin po ninyo.
Mr. President, in my meeting here in the Philippines, I'm happy always to hear so often praises for the quality and reliability of the Israeli technologies and Israeli systems. Israel has become a trusted and reliable partner to this country, especially in the area of defense and security. We have to make sure this collaboration will expand in the coming years. To support this collaboration and intimacy in our relations, we opened an office for a defense attaché in the Israeli embassy. He is fully dedicated to support those initiatives. The result is that we can see today Israeli strategic systems in the Air Force, in the Army, and in the Navy. And just to name a few, the new DAGDAG, to be handed over to the Navy next week. The UAVs, radar systems, command and control systems, light tanks, armored vehicles, amongst others. This is what good friends are all about. So I'm very proud today to hand over now the GBAT system from Israel to the Philippines. Maraming salamat, mabuhay, shalom.
Habang ang Visiting Forces Agreement naman sa Japan ay tinutulak sa Senado, dahil isa ang Japan sa may pinakamagandang military training na makakatulong sa ating hukbong sandatahan. Isa rin ang Japan sa malapit na kaibigan ng Pilipinas at marami na itong naitulong sa ating bansa mula sa pagpapaunlad hanggang sa depensa at kagamitan ng ating militar. Narito nga po ang buong pag-uusap sa Senado patungkol sa Visiting Forces Agreement sa Japan. Panoorin po ninyo.
Madam Senate President Pro Tem, if I may I ask lang our SND and the AFP, what is the status of the Japanese Visiting Forces Agreement? Because I'm sure we can muster enough support in the Senate for a VFA for Japan. They're good partners. They're very good. They're best of friends of the Philippines.
Yes. And maybe a possible Japan VFA would also bring in investments so that equipment, manufacturing.
Yes,
Remember
our
when we had
coast guard
a
is being
meeting?
outfitted by the Japanese.
Yes, when we had a meeting with the Japanese ambassador and the Chamber of Commerce, they wanted so much to locate in the Philippines. Perhaps that can even be an opening for more investments
They
for
want more
manufacturing.
people-to-people interaction.
Yes, yes. So I know this still has to be studied, but I'm just wondering how we can, with the minimal utilization of our scarce resources, how we can have better training with allies.
With your permission, ma'am, may you just ask an answer from
Okay.
Senator Bato on the VFA Japanese
Well,
VFA?
Mr. President, as of now, they're in the process of discussing with Japan and also with Singapore. Singapore is also interested, Mr. President. But right now, Japan is already joining our military exercises as an observer. During Balikatan exercises, during our Balikatan exercises with the US. So they are observer status.
Would be nice, with the permission of my Senate President Pro Tem, it would be nice that we have a visiting forces agreement with them so that we can train with them. Because in an let's just put it this way, if there is sa Bisaya, simbako, no? O sana wala naman. Pero kung may mangyari na nagkakaroon ng gera dito, you have to remember we are treaty allies with the United States. Japan is also allied with the United States. We have to have close coordination with the movements of our Navy vessels and our armed forces. So maganda din po yan. If there is a plan, we will support it. Remember that the Senate is the last touch pagdating sa ratification. I think it's a good idea that we have one also for Japan instead of observer status, because with the VFA, they can train together with our troops, and our troops can train there as well.
Yes, Mr. President, according to ISINDE, sometime next year, it will be materialized, Mr. President. Because
We will study it, Secretary, your sponsor. I will try to convince my colleagues for a 2/3 vote on that if that happens.
Yeah, Mr. President.
In fact, this is not just military training, but it would also include disaster response
Yes,
and
ma'am.
disaster risk
Yes,
reduction.
they can come
Yes.
here like the US
Yes.
and deliver goods. The troops of Japan, the self-defense forces can come here and help us in calamity.
Even in earthquake drills. Yes, but
Yes.
because when we talk about exchange of training, it is not just militarily as we know it, but also in DRR and climate
Yes.
change adaptation and mitigation.
Agree.
Para sa mas madaming update tungkol sa ating defense, abangan lamang ang aking mga bagong video. Para naman sa mga gusto magpa-shoutout, mag-comment lamang po at share, paki-follow at like muna ng aming page na nasa description na ang link. Pwede ka ring manalo ng pera or load dito kapag ikaw ay naging top fan nito at napili. Huwag mo na rin kalimutan mag-like, share, and subscribe. Pindutin mo na rin ang bell para updated kayo sa aking mga video. Maraming salamat po.